Giribharadari Govijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai 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 Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vṛṣṇi-bhojāndhaka Paramahansa Parivartikacharya Statira Satashi Srimad Sridhandi Goswami Srilesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai 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 Om Vṛṣṇi-bhojāndhaka Paramahansa Parivartikacharya Statira Satashi Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantharaj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Hare Krishna. Let's make sure this is all. Let me see if I can, my eyes are not good. Let me see if I can read from the book. Usually I read from the device. Yeah, okay, kind of. So we're continuing our reading from the third canto, the third chapter. And we have two verses for today. I believe the second verse is on the board, 26, is that right? Okay, so there's 25 and 26. So I will read the verse number 25 in the translation, and then we will chant the verse 26 together. I'm going to use my light because then I can see better. Tataḥ katipayair māsair vṛṣṇi-bhojāndhakādayaḥ yayuḥ prabhāsaṁ saṁhṛṣṭā rathair deva-vimohitāḥ. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. A few months passed, and then, bewildered by Kṛṣṇa, all the descendants of vṛṣṇi, Bhoja and Andhaka, who were incarnations of demigods, went to Prabhāsa, while those who were eternal devotees of the Lord did not leave, but remained in Dvārakā. So now we'll do verse 26 together. Tatra snatva pitra devan Rishimschaiva tadambasa Tarpayitvata viprebhyo Gavo bahugana dudu Tatra snatva pitrindevan Rishimschaiva tadambasa Tarpayitvatat viprebhyo Gavo bahuguna dudu. Others? Tatrasnatva pitrindevan Rishimschaiva tadambasa Tarpayitvata viprebhyo Gavo bahuguna dudu Patrasnatva pitrindevan Rishimschaiva tadambasa Tarpayitvata viprebhyo Gavo bahuguna dudu Krishna pitrindevan Rishimschaiva tadambasa Tarpayitvata viprebhyo Ladies, Tatrasnatva pitrindevan Rishimschaiva tadambasa Tarpayitvata viprebhyo Gavo bahuguna dudu Tatrasnatva pitrindevan Rishimschaiva tadambasa Tatra. Oh, yeah, go. Rishimschaiva tadambasa Thank you. Tatra, there. Snatva, by taking bath. Pitrin, forefathers. Devan, demigods. Rishim, great sages. Cha, also. Eva, certainly. Tat, of that. Ambasa, by the water. Tarpayitva, by pleasing. Ata, thereupon. Viprebhya, unto the brahmanas. Gavaha, cows. Bahugunaha, greatly useful. Duduhu, gave in charity. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. After arriving there, all of them took bath, and with the water of this place of pilgrimage, they offered their respects to the forefathers, demigods, and great sages, and thus satisfied them. They gave cows to the Brahmins in royal charity. Purport. Amongst the devotees of the Lord, there are several divisions, mainly Nitya Siddhas and Sadhana Siddhas. The Nitya Siddha devotees
never fall down to the region of the material atmosphere, even though they sometimes come onto the material plane to execute the mission of the Lord. The sadhana-siddhid devotees are chosen from the conditioned souls. Out of the sadhana devotees, there are mixed and pure devotees. The mixed devotees are sometimes enthusiastic about fruitive activities and are habituated to philosophical speculation. The pure devotees are free from all these mixtures and are completely absorbed in the service of the Lord, regardless of how and where they are situated. Pure devotees of the Lord are not enthusiastic to put aside their service to the Lord in order to go visit holy places of pilgrimage. A great devotee of the Lord in modern times, Sri Narottam Das Thakur, has sung like this: "To visit holy places of pilgrimage is another bewilderment of the mind, because devotional service to the Lord at any place is the last word in spiritual perfection." For pure devotees of the Lord, who are completely satisfied with the transcendental loving service of the Lord, there is hardly any necessity to visit the various places of pilgrimage. But those who are not so advanced have the prescribed duties of visiting pilgrimage sites and regularly performing the rituals. The part of the princely order of the Yadu dynasty who went to Prabhāsa performed all duties to be done in a place of pilgrimage and offered their pious actions to their forefathers and others. As a rule, every human being is indebted to God, the demigods, great sages, other living entities, people in general, forefathers, etc., for various contributions received from them. Thus, everyone is obliged to repay the debt of gratitude. The Yadus who went to the Prabhāsa pilgrimage site performed their duties by distributing land, gold, and well-nourished cows in royal charity, as described in the following verse. Om Agyana Tamrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bandhamaya Jadkripatam Baham Hare Krishna. I was wondering, these asanas here, there's some sages coming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ah, a sage. Welcome. Who knows who is present? Someone looking for a laugh, because here I am, sitting in this seat with no qualification. But in this list there are, yes? All right, let's get the context. Okay? Well, we have to go back a little further to get the full context. Because we heard, I think it was yesterday, wasn't it, that Advaita spoke about this whole series of events where there was the cursing and there was the phony pregnancies and so on. So the events have now come to their denouement. Right? They're coming to their fruition. And so, so the previous verse talked about how those sages had become angry and cursed these descendants, and now they're going to fulfill the prediction that will come about in the next few verses. So to fulfill this predict, they've gone to Prabhāsa. So this first verse that we chanted was, first of all, and we can talk a little bit about this because it's interesting. There's two things I found interesting in this verse. But before I get to that, I do have to do what I started to do, Rameshwar Prabhu. Okay? Which is to read this from the Adi Leela. Because in the purport, we're going to talk a little bit about this. But before I want to read this verse, because it applies to me. This is Adi 8.5. Mukha kavitva kareyan sabharas marane pangu giri lange anda deke taragane. By remembering the lotus feet of the Panchatattva, a dumb man can become a poet. Let's see. A lame man can cross mountains, and a blind man can see the stars in the sky. So, on the basis of this, I will try to see some stars. I see some stars already, all in front of me. Haribol! But let's see if we can see some of the stars that are revealed in these verses and purports. This first verse actually has some very interesting elements to it. The last word of this verse is vṛṣṇi-bhojāndhaka. That the descendants of the Vrishnis, they proceeded to Prabhāsa, the residents of Dvārakā, in some sort of bewilderment of Kṛṣṇa. There was something going on here. This is not ordinary. This is an indication that there's Leela taking place here. Now, I found it interesting. I have the benefit of access to some, I should say, electronic versions of the Acharya's commentaries, translated into English. And this particular verse has been commented on in different ways about how, what this bewilderment, how this took place. And one comment was that Krishna's arrangement was that the actual residents of Dvārakā, the associates of the Lord, they remained in Dvārakā, and some illusory form went. And there's other comments about how these illusions take place. So that's one interesting thing that we can note from this verse, that the residents of Dvārakā who proceeded to Prabhāsa, and in fact all of this whole sequence is all the arrangement, the orchestration of Kṛṣṇa, the great director, the supreme. As you notice, I have a tendency towards theatrics. Which I have, I don't know where it's coming from. I guess it's anyway. But there's one great director who's directing us all, and we're all on a stage, we're all acting in some way. either under the direction directly of the Lord or in the direction of his how you should say, assistant director, Maya. She knows how to direct very expertly the conditioned souls. And then there's the Yoga Maya, who also directs. And Yoga Maya will even direct Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa will submit himself to the direction of Yoga Maya. And in this way, these leelas manifest. So we're in the midst of one of those leelas. And as is the purpose of the Lord, to achieve many things at once, this particular leela is one of those examples. He has to bring his associates back. He has to himself. He has to wind up his leela. I don't know if he got a message like Gauranga Mahaprabhu did. We were just in Puri and we were remembering how Gauranga Mahaprabhu, in his final pastimes with us, he got a message. He got a cryptic message from Advaita Acharya. I don't remember the Bengali, but I remember basically the way it went, the way the message came. It came from Advaita. Advaita was in Shantipur. He sent a message, and the message was something like, "Tell the crazy man that there's no people buying rice in the market. Tell the crazy man that the crazy man have all become crazy. Tell the crazy man that there's no use for the crazy men anymore." The words were baul this, baul that. It was very poetic. No one could understand. What was this? What is the meaning of this cryptic message? Mahaprabhu understood. And his response was, "So be it." And within a short time, he disappeared. He disappeared. Again, as Kṛṣṇa is arranging now for his departure, Mahaprabhu, he arranged his own departure. And there again, just like in the Leela is unfolding of Kṛṣṇa's departure from this world, Mahaprabhu left different ways to see his departure. The materialists, the materialists view their idea is that he must have drowned, because he had just before this he had practically drowned. I mean, only because he's Kṛṣṇa did he not drown, and was collected in the net of the fishermen. But he must have drowned. Another, this is even worse, theory is that the pandas of the temple, they had become envious and they poisoned him, and he's buried somewhere in the Puri. So all these theories are come about by the arrangement of Kṛṣṇa, so that everyone has something to peg their mind on. Some acharyas have described that actually Mahaprabhu left in 3 ways. Because Mahaprabhu appeared, when he came not only as Kṛṣṇa, but he is also, within him is Mahavishnu, within him is the Yuga avatar. Because in one of the authorized biographies, it is stated that Mahaprabhu entered into Jagannath in Gundicha. So one is that Mahaprabhu entered the ocean as Mahavishnu and left that way. He entered Jagannath as the Yuga avatar, and as Kṛṣṇa, he entered Gopinath. So Mahaprabhu has his own Leela of departure. And Kṛṣṇa now is setting up his own Leela of departing this world and giving some way for everyone to kind of adjust their understanding. But we understand through our acharyas. So another thing, though, that we're finding here is that there's lessons to be learned, and Prabhupada is bringing out those lessons. This particular purport brings out a number of lessons that we can reflect upon. The first is understanding the nature of perfection for the jiva. The terminology that has been given us here in the beginning is that of the nitya-siddhas and the sadhana-siddhas. Of course, there's one more. The kripa-siddhas. So there's the nitya-siddha devotees. And Prabhupada describes in this purport very interestingly, he says that the nitya-siddha devotees never fall down to the region in the material atmosphere, even though they sometimes come into the material plane to execute the mission of the Lord. The nitya-siddha devotees especially appear with Kṛṣṇa in order to assist him in his pastimes. So those nitya-siddha devotees are described by Srila Prabhupada as not going to Prabhāsa. So as we said, there's different ways that to understand this. One is that they remained in Dvārakā, but in a way that you could not see them, and sent some sort of illusory form, just like Sita Devi was taken by Ravana, but not actually taken by Ravana. It was a Chaya Sita that was taken by Ravana. So similarly, there's this understanding there that the personalities who went, and then there's the other understanding that is given here, that those were the devatas. They were the devatas. That they were the ones, because they were not scheduled to go back to this Krishna's abode. They had their services to perform here in this world, just like Vidura, and who is describing Vidura himself. He, although a pure devotee, he had to return to his service as Yamaraj. So that is another aspect that we can understand about how these devotees are going. But when we reflect now on this terminology of nitya-siddha and sadhana-siddha and kripa-siddha, one way to look at this is we have been given a chance. The nitya-siddha devotees come to this world to give us kripa, to give us mercy, by which we can then perform sadhana and then achieve that same perfection. Now, Prabhupada makes a point here that these sadhana devotees, however, first he uses an interesting term, are chosen from the conditioned souls. The sadhana devotees are chosen. So this is where we can understand that there is an element of kripa. To get the opportunity to engage in sadhana, bhakti sadhana, is only possible by the mercy of the devotees. How else? And everyone here can attest to this fact. Of course, one can make a show of sadhana by reading some books and putting on some rituals. But to actually perform true sadhana and to become sadhana siddha, to become perfect through that process, is only when Brahmanda Brahmiti Kona Bhagyavana Jeev Guru Kṛṣṇa Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. Only when by some causeless grace, as we wander, wandering is not all bad. There are good places to wander, like Vrindavan and Mayapur. We can wander here, and every step will be good. But our wandering in this material world, from the higher planets to the lower planets to the everywhere, species of life, we have entered into every single one of them. We've had the bodies of elephants, the bodies of cows, the bodies of monkeys, the bodies of fish, the bodies of microbes, the bodies of demigods. We've had all of these bodies. We've moved from one to the other, up and down and wandering, lost, completely lost, not knowing where we're going, following what's it called, the will of the wisp. Excuse me. Will of the wisp. You know what the will of the wisp is? In the bogs of Ireland and the moors of Scotland and so on, sometimes the people would need to go through that at night. So there were special persons who carried a lantern, and that lantern could guide them so they didn't fall into the muck and the bog and actually die. So the person who did that, he was called the will of the moor or something like that. And so he would guide people through this. But sometimes, because these bogs exuded methane gas, and sometimes that gas would light up, and there would be like little fire that would pop up. And some people would think that this was the will. I can't remember. Praghosh Prabhu tells this very well because it's from his his tradition. They would follow and end up in the bog and die. So that from that came the term will o' the wisp. It's an imaginary, illusory guide. So we follow these will o' the wisps that direct us towards so-called happiness in this world, up and down and up and down. And only Bhagyavan, only when we become fortunate, when we get fortune, kono Bhagyavan Jeev, when that Jeev, who we are, when we get the fortune of getting Guru Kṛṣṇa Prasad, when we get mercy from Guru and Kṛṣna, then the bhakti lata, the seed of bhakti, is sown in our hearts, and then we can do sadhana. Then we can engage in sadhana. So in the beginning, generally speaking, that is from a platform of mixed devotion. And so Srila Prabhupada is pointing out here, oh boy, time, that there are, generally speaking, people in the beginning will have a mixture of desires for karma and gyan. Pure bhakti is anyabhilashata sunyam jnana karma dhyanavrtam anukulyena Kṛṣṇānusilanam bhaktir uttama. Uttama bhakti is without any desire for any fruitive result or speculative knowledge. So this is brought out here because this text refers to a desire amongst the inhabitants, the vṛṣṇis, who have gone to do rituals. They've gone to this place of pilgrimage to do various, and all the various ritualistic terms are used here. It talks about tarpayam and snana and so on. And for who? For the forefathers, for the devatas. So they're doing rituals. They have some apparent material desires to do, and they're going to the places of pilgrimage. And Srila Prabhupada points out that for the pure devotees, there is no such desire. In fact, he goes so far as to say that for such devotees, such travel is a distraction. And it brings to mind a very wonderful pastime of our Srila Prabhupada, who had the opportunity. This was, you've probably all heard this story. He was in Radhakund. There was a pilgrimage, a yatra, a parikrama going on, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was going to speak that evening. But there was also some place that they had meant to go but hadn't gone to, I think. And so there was an other option. So the devotees were said, well, you have these options. You can go and complete, because you haven't seen this I think it was Sheshadri, anyway, in Koshi. You can go there, or you can remain and we'll have kata. And we hear from our Prabhupada how he said, well, what is more important? What will I do? It was related, by a devotee I was listening to. He was talking about the same verse. And he was saying that Srila Prabhupada thought, if I go to these places, who am I anyways? What will I see? I'll just go there and I'll just for the sake of having gone there. But if I stay, I can listen. And we also understand that Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he noted this in Srila Prabhupada, that he is attached to hearing. So Srila Prabhupada points out this in this verse, that for the pure devotees, these pilgrimages are they're seen in terms of their service. Whereas ordinary mixed devotees, who are devotees, I mean, if you're not a devotee, why go to a place of pilgrimage? Like go to Paris, let's go to Singapore. Why go to Seychelles, or whatever? You don't choose to go to the places of pilgrimage if you're just a full-blown materialist. But if you're a devotee and but you still have some material desires to, advanced materially, then you'll go to you'll seek out these places of pilgrimage, and you'll do the rituals, and you'll do all the things that are there. I was reminded also just now, I'm reminded of another a devotee who avoided these rituals, although he wanted to worship Kṛṣṇa. We were, again, this is from our recent pilgrimage. We were on pilgrimage, and I'll get to that, to Puri. And we heard about a great devotee named Dasya Bhauri. Who here has heard of Dasya Bhauri? A few. Well, she was there. You were there. Okay. So Dasya Bhauri, he was like us. He was an outcast. He couldn't enter the temple of Jagannath. This was in about 1790, 1800. The rules then were even more strict than they are now. And if you were a lower caste Hindu, you could, now it's like, you'd have to be at least something. But Hindu, and born Hindu. Then, you have to have some caste. But his caste was too low, so he was a weaver. He couldn't enter. But he had a vision, and Jagannath appeared to him and told him that he would accept his offerings. So he wanted to offer Jagannath something. And a Brahmin was proceeding to the temple. He was living about 30 miles, 40 kilometers or so from Jagannath Puri, from the temple. So he obtained a coconut. He said, at least I can offer that. He had no money. He was very poor. So he gave this Brahmin the coconut. But he said, don't do the rituals. Don't give this coconut to the Lord through some ritualistic process. This is from me. I don't do rituals. I'm a weaver. I don't do that. And this is from me to Jagannath. It's not from me to this one and that. It's from me to Jagannath. It's without ritual. Without all the formalities. So you just go. You go behind the Garuda Stamba and you hold this coconut. And you just say, "Oh Jagannath, Dasya Bhauri from Baligram offers you this coconut." That's it. Just do that. And if he accepts it, that's so nice. And if he doesn't, you bring it back. So Brahman thought, well, this is interesting. Okay. He's a nice Brahman. So he goes to Jagannath Puri. And of course, he's got all kinds of offerings, in which he does the rituals and he does everything for the rest of the people in the village and so on. And then he remembered, oh yes, there's this coconut. Okay, that's right. All right, what did he say? Okay, yeah. And he goes behind the Guru Stamba and he says, all right, Jagannath, Dasya Bhauri from Baligram offers you this coconut. Coconut is it's gone. The coconut's gone. And there's this cry coming from the altar. What's going on? And he goes up and he sees all over the face of Jagannath is coconut pulp. This is Dasya Bhauri. His sadhana. He was not a Nityasiddha who descended from the spiritual world to be an associate. He was like us. But his devotion, his sadhana was so simple. Just always remember Kṛṣṇa. Always chant the names of Kṛṣṇa. Always worship Kṛṣṇa. Always think of Kṛṣṇa. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam. This was what he did. All the limbs of devotional service he pursued, but not with not in a fancy way. Not with mantras, not with rituals, not with, Om, not with the tarpa, Om, none of those things. Just simple devotion. Simple, pure devotion. Without any desire for karma, jnana. He was a simple man. But Kṛṣṇa gave him the height of perfection. Kṛṣṇa appeared to him several times. He later went himself and brought a basket of mangoes to offer to Kṛṣṇa. He couldn't enter the temple, so he stood outside. He gazed upon the Sudarshan chakra, which is Kṛṣṇa, which is Jagannath. And he offered the Lord, "Here, I have brought you these mangoes." And in the view of the guards who were standing there, the mangoes fly out. And the guards look and say, "Are you some mystic yogi?" "No, I'm just Dasya Bhauri, but the Lord has accepted my offering. He's accepted again. He's accepted my offering." You can see, you go see for yourself. He's accepted. And they went inside. And what do you think they found? Next to Jagannath, a big pile of mango seeds. Simple devotion. Simple. Simple sadhana, but with a pure, pure heart. So, just to conclude, because I ran out of time, but I wanted to just insert one more reflection. Because we may read this verse and think, well, wait a minute, we go to pilgrimage, right? Why do we do this? We go, I would just to conclude, for three things. Probably more too. I have this habit of trying to number before I say, end up. But the first one that Prabhupada gave us is to recharge. Because these places, they have special, special power. They have special power. Because Kṛṣṇa performed his pastimes here. And he's energized these places. And in fact, the places like Vrindavan and so on, he is still performing his pastimes, but we can't see it. Like here in Mayapur. Gauranga Mahaprabhu is here. Every morning he's dancing in these streets. Every morning he's going on kirtan. He's in the evening associating with Nityananda and Srivas, and they're having kirtan in the Srivasanga. He's still here. We can't see him. This is his place. So by coming here, we get some of his mercy. And we do this so that we can go back to serve him. So that we can serve him better wherever we are. We can go, Prabhupada sent us here to recharge, and then not to retire, but to go out and continue the mission of Mahaprabhu. And we come here as part of our sadhana. Because remembering, by coming to the holy places and seeing them, we can stimulate our remembrance of the pastimes of Kṛṣṇa and his devotees and his various forms. And we come on pilgrimage to associate with other devotees and to concentrate our sadhana. We went on the pilgrimage just now to Puri, and for 7 days we were just hearing and chanting and eating eating Jagannath Prasadam. So this is a concentrated sadhana. So we go on to these on pilgrimage in order to concentrate our sadhana. So yes, don't take pilgrimage as shown here for the purpose of fulfilling some ritualistic obligations, but go for the service of Srila Prabhupada, for the service of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and take the advantage of these opportunities to strengthen your devotional service throughout the year, wherever you are. Because wherever you are, absorbed in devotional service, that becomes a holy place. Hare Krishna. So I have to end. I don't know if it's 9 o'clock, so we can take some questions perhaps, or you can leave if you need to. Yes?
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. The story that I heard with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and going on pilgrimage around the Dham, while he was giving a lecture, apparently Prabhupada tells that it's a similar story, it probably is not the same occurrence, that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati asked, but where are the devotees at his lecture?
Ah.
And they went on krama, or they went on, and he mentioned the expression, eye exercise. They went on eye exercise.
Eye exercise, yes.
His point being, when the guru is present, talking, that's not the time to go on eye exercise.
Yes.
Which is not to say don't go on pilgrimage.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Sorry, I didn't really leave time. I should have. I'm sorry about that. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.